You have to
Oh,
unmute.
okay. Sorry. I was on mute. Yeah, I'm
All right.
good.
You good? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, hold on. I'm hyped up off coffee right now in techno.
Yeah, I know. Because you were just twerking in my room.
I was not twerking. I was twerking, throwing that dick.
Wow. Okay.
All right, let's get into it. So, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my space. Thanks for clicking this on Spotify. Thanks for hearing this whenever you're hearing this, wherever you're hearing this. This is episode 19 of Simon and AKDI movie reviews. I'm here with my beautiful wife from Turkey, and I'm a Black American from Louisiana. And today we are covering the second part of We Are Who We Are. Say hi, AKDI.
Hi, everyone. I'm ready to cover all of this. I know it's a bit late because I was out of town, but we're good now and we're going to get back to it.
Let's go. Let's go. So, just a quick review for anybody who doesn't know about this show. We Are Who We Are was a 2020 HBO series, limited series, only one season. It's about these kids who basically live on this military base in Italy, and it's like a coming of age story that deals with a lot of issues that Gen Z is going through. Now, my wife is Gen Z, so I have to ask, actually, was there parts of this show that you related to being in high school and stuff like that? Did it speak to your Gen Z soul?
Yeah. In some ways it did. Like, you know, how, like, Frasier and Kate's, like, friendship. I think that spoke to me because I can understand how they feel when they're together. That's the way I felt with my best friend when I met her, like during high school and stuff like that. Obviously, I can't relate to like that sort of like Kate's, you know, sexual exploration that much. Yes, of course, even though I'm a straight woman, I had my sexual exploration stage and stuff like that. But it
Fight.
wasn't as confusing for me, I guess, because I'm straight.
That's hot. Paris Hilton voice.
Do you relate to them?
No, I was never gay, and I was never trans.
You don't have to be gay to relate to them, Simon. Jesus.
You know what? Something as for me as a millennial, I feel like being in high school and coming of age, it was very gender segregated when we were in our teens. Like I feel
Yeah.
like in middle school, like boys and girls, played more together. But then when you went to high school, it became more divided. And I think that's one of the interesting things about the show. That's maybe not that we kind of skipped over in that first review is that friendships between boys and girls, can they exist? Like, can you have that strong clique bond that's full of like different genders in the clique? You know what I mean? Because me and my crew, it was just mostly guys. A bunch of young black males and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, my crew was also like girls. Yes, we did hung out with guys just as friends too. But I guess that's also like the stage of your development because when you're in middle school or before that, you're not really interested in anything related to sexuality
Hmm.
or maybe not even gender. You know, you just play the same games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when you go to high school, then you know, it's the classics. You change, your body changes, and you see the other sex like more romantically or sexually and things like that. So you want to explore. So I think, yeah, during that time, it's harder to be friends with the opposite sex, but I wouldn't say it's like impossible,
Definitely.
obviously. Yeah.
Definitely. I think the answer that the show gives to that question of whether boys and girls can be friends is kind of a no. Because if we think about the dynamics of the clique, everybody was, dating each other, kissing each other, breaking up and stuff like that. And the clique sort of had like very flimsy bonds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I forgot the name, but Kate, when she broke up with her first boyfriend, the black boy with the braids,
Uh,
right?
yeah. Ben.
Ben, yeah, whatever. He didn't even want to talk to her, and that sort of like divided the clique. And then there was like Fat Brittany in there, and she was kissing on everybody, saying, "I always loved him." Never mind, I always loved her. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So that's how I feel. I feel like the show is, saying that underlying all of the friendships between boys and girls, there is sort of that, sexual tension.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you do have those things. Like, for example, with me and my friend group, we didn't have that. Like, you know, there was a boy who joined our clique, and then yeah, somebody in our group had feelings for that girl, for that boy, sorry.
Hmm.
And then like it sort of became something else, and when they weren't together anymore, or when those feelings faded away, that person wasn't in our clique anymore,
Hmm.
or we didn't hang out with that person anymore. So yeah, like I guess that happens.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's go into this. So in our last episode, we just reviewed the first four episodes, and there's 8 episodes in total. So in this review, we're going to be covering the last 4 episodes. Let's just do a brief overview of who the characters are. So the one of the main characters is played by Chloe Savigny, and she's Sarah Wilson, a colonel in the U.S. Army, and that's Frasier's mother. Then we have Jack Dylan Grazer as Frasier, a 14-year-old who moves from New York to a military base in Italy with his mother's because his mom is a open lesbian, and she has Frasier has a stepmother. He has two mamas. And then there's Maggie Tejeda. That's Frasier's other mother. She's played by Alice Braga, and she's a major in the U.S. Army. Frasier's mother and Sarah's wife, and she's from Brazil. Maggie Tejeda. All right. Then there's Jordan Christine Seaman as Caitlin Pothras. And by the way, I'm looking on Wikipedia. She still does not have a Wikipedia entry. How are you an actress on an HBO show and you still don't have a wiki profile? What is that?
I know we
Yeah.
have to create one for her.
Well, I won't be very nice. You can do it.
Well, wow.
No, she's a decent actress, I would say. She was a
Yeah.
good actress. All the acting in the show is good. Everybody did their part. It's just a story I have a problem with.
Yeah.
But so Jordan plays Caitlin, or Harper, as she calls herself as a boy, a seemingly bold and confident 14-year-old girl or boy who is struggling with her gender identity or not. Then we have Danny Pothres. That's Caitlyn's older brother. He's the angry Muslim boy who occasionally drinks a lot of alcohol. Then we have Richard Poithras, played by Kid Cudi, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, Caitlyn and Danny's father. Then we have Jenny Pothras, Caitlyn and Danny's mother. She's the Nigerian woman who's always smiling and very happy and never angry and never calls out the stupid white people around her, which is very strange for for a Nigerian actress. I wish he acted like what is it, like Abi? What is that show? Bob.
Abishola.
Yeah, I wish he acted like Abi Shola and Bob Loves Abi or
That
something.
definitely would have been more fun.
Yes, she would have been like, Richard, you are stupid, and your daughter is a son.
Wow.
And then we have Brittany Orton, who is a part of the Scorsese dynasty, played by Francesca Scorsese. Brittany Orton, an outspoken, witty, sexually uninhibited girl. I'll just call her Fat Brittany. I don't know if that's offensive,
Wow.
but
Yes, it is.
okay, sorry. Well, anyway, after that we have Sam Pratchett. That's Caitlyn's possessive boyfriend and Craig's younger brother. So Sam was the guy that Caitlyn was dating at the beginning of the show. Then they broke up.
Oh.
Then we have Craig Pratchett, a soldier in his 20s, cheerful and good natured, who is also Sam's older brother. This is the guy who got married in the last episode we reviewed, episode 4. He got married to an Italian girl, black character as well. And then finally, we have Jonathan Krichevsky, played by Tom Mercier, a major who works closely with Sarah. So Jonathan is the Jewish soldier with the funny accent, who's sort of like Fraser's crush. He's like this older, muscular soldier that Fraser has kind of a crush on, but we
Hmm.
don't know if Jonathan is really gay or not. He seems to be very sexually fluid, and just to be kind of like bi, I guess. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
All right. And so yeah, those are the characters in general. So let's go to episode 5. It's right here, right now, number 5, because they had great titles. It was directed by Luca Guadagnino and Paola Giordano and Francesca Manieri and Luca Guadagnino. Sorry, is this annoying when I do the Italian?
Yes, a
Okay,
little bit.
sorry.
It's only annoying because you read it wrong, I think.
I just try to put my flair on it.
That's
Anyway,
cute.
all right. So what happened in this episode? So Caitlin gets up early to go to the digital shooting range, assisted by Sarah, who commands her accuracy. Maggie and Jenny are revealed to be sleeping together. When Fraser arrives at school, he spots a note posted on the board in the hallway referring to Harper, signed by Julia, the girl who Caitlin spoke to at the restaurant in episode 1. He gives it to Caitlin, who wants to meet Julia again. With Fraser's help, Caitlin applies trimmed hair onto her face while Fraser orders blood orange concert tickets. Then the pair shaves Caitlin's head. They ride to the meeting spot where Fraser leaves Caitlin to hang out with Julia and her friends. Fraser wanders off and stumbles upon the movie theater, buying a ticket for Ouija, Origin of Evil. At the theater, he sees Jonathan, a major in Sarah's command, whom he is infatuated with. Jonathan invites him to sit with him, and the two walk home after the movie, striking up a friendship. Meanwhile, Richard notices Caitlin's shaven hair in the bathroom. Furious, he later confronts Caitlin, blaming Fraser and his lesbian parentage, who breaks down in her father's arms. Okay, so what did you think of that episode?
I think this was an interesting episode. I mean, I'm a sucker for daughter and father scenes at the end, so that was obviously like sentimental for me. But it's also like the first episode where we see Caitlin actually taking action to kind of find out who she is. Like this is one of the first times that we see her with a little mustache, with a little peach fuzz. And I thought it was cool. Like Frasier doesn't really say like what the hell are you doing and things like that. Like he never really judges her, which was like I guess like the foundation of their relationship because he was this guy from New York who was like just open to anything and also very fluid in his sexuality and the way he dresses and things like that. So I feel like that's the base of their relationship. Like Caitlin is trying to discover this part of herself that is sort of not really accepted by her family, and Frasier is there just I guess like accepting her so like she can do just weird stuff around him.
Mm.
And that's also like the time where she shaves her head as well. And I also like that like Frasier's mom Sarah was like developing a relationship with Caitlin, because I was thinking okay, like Frasier can be like wild, he can say stupid stuff, but as a adult Sarah would be in more control of certain situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like this episode was about power, and it was secondly showing that Caitlyn was being pulled in many different directions, and for some reason, everybody's very jealous over Caitlyn and who she hangs out with. So, like the thing about Jenny and Maggie like sleeping together, I feel like in this episode, it was Maggie sort of like wanting to have domination over somebody else, right? She wants to now be the stud with the strap on. She don't want to get poked up. She want to do the poking, right? And because when we see Maggie have relations with Sarah in other times, right, she's the one sitting on the lap. She's the one getting like picked up and put on the wall and stuff like that. And now she gets to be the dominant one over Jenny, right? This submissive Nigerian lady. That's how I
Yeah.
felt like.
I
That's
think yeah, I think they had like different reasons to why they hooked up. I don't think it was because Jenny was a lesbian at heart. I think Jenny was also trying to get back at her husband a little bit, but maybe like obviously she still like respects or wants to be with her husband, so she's like I don't want to cheat with another man, but okay, like I feel like this woman is interesting, so what if I do this? And I think like unconsciously even Jenny was trying to get some revenge
I
out of
disagree
like
with
her
that.
husband.
I disagree with that. I don't get any. When I was watching it, I didn't get any malice towards from Jenny towards Richard. I didn't feel that at all. I just feel like she felt unseen and unheard, and also like she was maybe a bit sad that she rejected so much of her culture. Like she calls herself Jenny, but that's not even her real name, right? And there's another episode later on where Richard and Jenny like have sex, and he calls her Nigerian name, and she says, "Stop! Don't do that! And you don't call me that, right?" But meanwhile, Maggie sort of like likes Nigerian food. She likes her Nigerian culture and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's what I feel like. Jenny just wanted to be seen sort of like for who she was and not be this like whitewashed version. That's what I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. I mean, when I say like she's kind of mad at her husband, I guess what I'm trying to say is like everything that came with her husband and everything that she hid, she was like in a sense also, mad at herself too because of that. And I just
Hmm.
thought this was like a way of her just like putting that out
Right.
a little bit, just rebelling against her life a little bit.
Right. Now, going to the second part that I think this episode is about, like when Frasier finds out that Caitlin and his mom are like going to the shooting range and hanging out, and like Caitlin likes his mom, and his mom likes Caitlin. You know what I mean? Platonically friendly. Frasier texts his mom, "I hate you, bitch." No, you said Frasier was not out of control in this episode. He was out of control in the text messages, right? He like texted her like, "Don't talk to me, you stupid cunt." I was like, "Whoa."
No, I didn't say he's not out of control. He is always out of control.
It
But
was,
yeah,
yeah, that was crazy how Frasier was acting towards his mom. And then she replied, "How many days?" And he typed 0. Like, what type of? I would not deal with it. Where's the belt? Where's the belt? I wanted to jump through the TV, start
yeah.
whooping on Frasier.
That's the worst quality of Frasier. Like he's just like very disrespectful,
Hmm.
and it's like I don't know. Like I've never seen anyone act that way towards their parents, honestly.
Yeah,
So it was just kind of crazy,
yeah.
where like to see Sarah, his mother, being this general of the base, but then she gets bullied by her son
Hmm.
daily.
Hmm.
So it was just like also an interesting dynamic. I think like no matter how I don't know strong you are in your position in the world, there are still some people who will dominate over you, and that goes again with your idea saying that this episode is kind of about power.
Hmm. Yeah, like power and influence and stuff like that, because everybody's sort of like jealous over who gets to influence another person, right? Like Maggie, in my opinion, wants to influence Jenny. She wants to be the dominant one in that relationship, and also she wants to be seen too. She wants to be more respected because she feels like maybe Frasier's mom is more dominant in that relationship. Richard wants to have more influence over Caitlin, but Caitlin is sort of like going off into her own path, shaving her head and hanging out with the lesbian neighbors and stuff like that. So I feel like in this episode, everybody's trying to fight over who gets to influence Caitlin. Frasier wants to be the only one that's really close to Caitlin. Sarah, doesn't really possibly feel that much about it, like as in she's that passionate about it, but she sees something in Caitlin that she wants to nurture and be around. And Richard, of course, because it's her father, wants that too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's how I view this episode, honestly. And another thing, man, I gotta say that I feel like, how can I say this? I wish what they did with Frasier's character, instead of making him like this, angry autistic boy, is that they made him sort of, this might be cheesy and corny, but like he was mad at his mom because like he was maybe anti-American, or like he was like had some different views. Like he viewed the idea of us having a military base in Italy and all over the world as like evil. It would have been more interesting, in my opinion, if there was that divide, and how they view
Like a
stuff.
political divide between them.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like that's what they could have done. But maybe it was just like, okay, let's try this type of idea. What if we have an autistic person in the show?
Yeah, I mean, we do see one line of that in the upcoming episode, so I'll mention it when we get there. But
Hmm.
yeah, that would have been interesting because he's such he's a kid that reads and stuff like that. He's into literature and he's into art, he's into fashion.
Right.
So that would have been a good like addition. But yeah, and also I want to say like the scene where they're like in the bathroom and they're doing like they're shaving and cutting her hair and things like that. It was like kind of cozy for me because when you're as a girl or as a woman, your appearances matter a lot, and
Hmm.
especially when you're a teenager, you care a lot about how you look and how your hair is and things like that. So I remember the first time I dyed my hair,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's like you get to be like someone else a little bit, not
Hmm.
entirely someone else, but you get to discover like another part of yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was like I kind of related there with Caitlin, how like she was scared but she was excited, because also like when you're young you feel like I don't know, this is my virgin hair and I don't want to do anything to it because all of the adults always say like you're so beautiful naturally when you're a kid, don't do anything, don't do anything.
Hmm.
So you have that like you're scared to lose that like purity, even like physical purity, and also like but you also want to like grow up and discover different sides of yourself. So that
Right.
was cool for me.
Right. It was cozy for me too because I knew while I was watching it, and nobody else saw this, but it was cozy for me because I know that black girl didn't cut off all that beautiful golden 4C hair. That was a horrible wig, and they just did a very decent job of just trying to hide it. She was just shaving the wig. It was a wig, bro. I hate when they, they always make it a big deal when females cut their hair in movies and TV shows, but I can see a wig when I know that's a
I
wig.
think no, I don't think it was a wig because I watched the HBO's like inside the episode,
Uh-huh.
And she says like she was really in the moment and she was screaming and stuff like that because she always had a full head of hair. She said she was like born with a full head of hair. So I don't think it was a wig.
Okay. All right. I might be wrong. Anyway, so I think that's it for that episode. What do you rate it overall?
Um, like a 7.
Like a 7?
Yeah.
I give this one like a 5. Like a 5. Once again,
Okay.
the show is frustrating for me to watch some of these characters and watching what they're doing and feeling like you want to yell at the screen, like, don't do that. Don't do it. Should we
Yeah.
go to episode 6?
Sure. Let's
All
go.
right. So right here, right now, episode 6, directed and written by the same guys. So in the light of the shaving incident, Richard grounds Caitlin and forces her to spend the week on a hunting trip. Frasier goes to the post office and picks up a book, then leaves it on Jonathan's desk with a note. Caitlin spends the beginning of the hunting trip sneaking away to find a cellular signal to text Frasier, but she eventually returns to her father. While eating dinner by the campfire, Richard questions Caitlin about what she sees in Frasier, believing him gay, and she tells him that Frasier understands her. The next morning, Frasier wakes to a voicemail from Jonathan inviting him out, and Frasier is enthused. Sarah sees it as an exciting opportunity for Frasier to have a male role model in his life. Jonathan drives Frasier out to the countryside, and they walk together to a picturesque war monument. Later, at a restaurant, Frasier is shocked to see that Jonathan invited his friend Marta, but eventually adjusts, and the three sing karaoke together. The next day, Caitlin returns from the trip, and Sarah spots her in the food court. She calls her over and questions her about her gender identity, offering to take her to an endocrinologist. Caitlin is happy and later watches videos of testosterone injections online. That night, Donald Trump is elected president of the United States. Sarah, while watching the news, gets a call from an unknown number. After she picks up, a look of sadness washes over her. She asks where and how many, and quickly leaves the house. What did you think of that episode?
This was an interesting episode. I mean, the beginning, like how Richard and Caitlin goes to this trip, it's like Richard trying to, get back to those old moments where, everything was normal. She had hair and all of that. And, Caitlin is not really responding well at first, but then she kind of forces herself. I feel like she's kind of over her father at this point. She's like, like whatever like you are doing, it's not gonna, take me back to just being your little baby girl, sort of. And I think like Richard is like just confused because he's like, I would understand like if he was not gay, that I would understand if you would want to date him. But since he's gay, like why would you be with him all the time? So I think like he's kind of questioning, what the hell is going on, and he's definitely like, thinking that this is the fault of Frasier.
Frasier and Sarah.
Yeah, I mean he hates Sarah from the beginning, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, like with Frasier and the other guy, Jonathan, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was like a really cute date and stuff like that, and I did really feel sad when Jonathan's girlfriend appeared. I was like, okay, like Frasier's gonna have a boyfriend and whatnot. I was rooting for Frasier for the first time, and then I don't know, I just felt sad that Jonathan did that.
Yo, I gotta say, Jonathan is the biggest tease in the world. Like
Yeah.
any man could easily tell the cues from Frasier that this little gay boy likes you. Number one, he is a grown adult. Jonathan is at least 20 years old, at least, because you have to be 18 to join the army, right? Frasier is 14, and just to be tacitly flirting with this boy, I feel like was borderline pedophilic, and it was gross. So I was not rooting for Frasier. I was not shipping Jonathan and Frasier. I was like, this is grooming. I feel like episode 6, it finally comes clear and proves my point about this episode, about this series. It's about grooming because when Sarah tells Caitlin, "Does your father know you want to be a boy soldier?" and then Jonathan is out here flashing his dick in front of this 14-year-old boy who is like taking peeks at it and stuff like that. I feel like, yo, this show is really gross. I feel like this is really gross. It's not cool that Sarah, the commander of this military base, would tell another soldier's daughter implicitly, yo, maybe you should be trans. Like that's crossing the line, in my opinion. And yeah, telling her that she's gonna take her to a hormone therapy doctor. This was all really bad. And to let your boy go out with this man, on a date like that, I did not feel like it was cool. I did not feel like this was cool. This was a very weird episode for me. I really disliked it.
Okay, well, I might agree with you when it comes to Frasier and Jonathan. Yes, it was kind of weird since Jonathan was like, older and stuff like that. And, according to the description, Caitlin, I mean, not Caitlin, Sarah thought like, okay, so it's going to be like a role model. Maybe she thought Frasier had a little crush, but she also thought like nothing is going to happen between them a little bit. Maybe it was like that, but I don't agree on like Caitlin and Sarah's relationship. I think, like I said, she's an adult who went through similar stuff that Caitlyn is going through now, probably, when she was first trying to come out and stuff like that. And thinking that she was in the army, it's probably was a more, oppressed environment to come out. Mm-hmm. So I think she's just trying to help her and let her know that she has options. I don't think what she's doing is the same with what Jonathan is doing. Jonathan doesn't really have to care about Frasier because he doesn't have any connections to him. But Sarah is a mother and she sees another child who is like not understood by her own family. And most of the times, if you look at like stories of trans people or gay people and things like that, they do get help from outside most of the times if their families reject their ideas and things like that. So I think that's important that people do that, counselors or some other like adult role model is, I think, very helpful in that time, because if Caitlyn doesn't have that and she only has Frasier's crazy ideas, I think it would be worse for Caitlyn.
Okay. My opinion is that Caitlyn, though, the entire show continues to reject, being a lesbian or being trans in general, right? It's only with the consistent pressure and influencing from Frasier, and then also in this episode from Sarah, that she sort of leans into it even more. Once again, when Julia tries to give her number, she wipes it away. When Julia leaves a note at school for Caitlyn, she doesn't want to hear it, and Frasier keeps on pressing her, call her, go on a date with her and stuff like that. And by the way, when they go on the date, how can I say this? Caitlyn is dressed up like a boy, right? And Julia says, "Hey, how long have you always tried to dress up like a boy? I know you're not a boy, you're a girl. I like girls, right?" And so, yeah, Frasier's like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to have this date. I don't want to be around you," or anything like that. My opinion is that Caitlyn only wanted to dress up like a boy because she had a crush on Frasier, and Frasier was just so into all this weird stuff. She was like, "I'm going to do what my hopefully boyfriend likes. I'm going to be into what he's into," because that's what people do when they have a crush. And so I feel like Caitlyn was being groomed. I'm being absolutely honest here, and I do not think it's cool. I do not think it's cool. I don't think it's cute at all. Period.
I don't agree with that. I don't think Caitlyn ever rejects the idea of being gay or trans ever openly. Yes, she might have erased the number from her like arm, but we know that that might be because she was about to return to her dad on the boat. So that might be the sole reason for her deleting that. And also, when she gets the message from the girl, she's excited. Like, you can see that she's kind of like anxious, but she's also like, oh, she likes me, type of excited, you know? So, and she's also happy throughout her date until that moment. Where she confronts her about her gender identity. So I don't think it's harmful. Like, she gives her an option to go see a professional person who deals with this sort of stuff. So how is that, like, how is that bad to see this girl struggling with her gender identity and then saying to her, hey, you can go and see someone professional and ask her all the questions that you have in your head.
Okay, this is like saying that, okay, maybe you should go talk to a trans hormone therapy doctor. Is like me saying to somebody who is, not trying to work out, who is not having struggles with their weight. They're like at a decent body, weight, saying, hey, maybe you should go see a doctor about losing weight, right? It's like I'm putting it in their head that that's what they probably should be doing, because I'm implying that I see something in them that they don't see. And the person is like, I have no problem with my weight. I'm perfectly fine. And then everybody around them keeps saying, hey, maybe you should, go to a weight loss doctor. Maybe you should get the band surgery. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's not the same, because the example that you're giving, yeah, the person might be like on a normal weight, but if we see them trying to lose weight and talking about losing weight and things like that, then you would advise them to go see a doctor, and that would make sense. It's like that also. Like, in that scene, we see Caitlyn looking at the window from a barber shop at a guy who's getting his hair cut, and we see like Caitlyn, just watching it and maybe, I don't know, dreaming about it, maybe thinking about how it would be like if she cut her all of her hair and things like that. So it's not like she just comes out to her out of nowhere, out of thin air, and then says, hey, maybe you're trans. It's not like that. She gives signs of not being comfortable in her body.
I know she does not. I would just say that, this is my opinion. Women are more gender fluid prone than men, right? This is why you see girls, dress up in tomboy clothes or wear straight up guy clothes sometimes, because women are more easily able to bend gender. So she was looking at the barbershop thinking, okay, maybe this is another part of what I will have to do to impress my weird, crazy New York autistic boyfriend,
But you
Fraser.
don't know that.
But that's my opinion. But no, I'm basing that off of my observation of the show. Every time Caitlyn kisses a girl on this show, she rejects it. She does. There's never a time when she leans into it. The only time when she kisses somebody and likes it, spoiler, I'm not going to give it away. But
Yeah,
it's not a
but
girl. It's not a girl.
okay, that's fine. She might not be gay, but she might be trans. Like, she might
No,
want to be a boy who
no,
wants to be with a boy.
no,
Yes.
no. You're just saying that, but there's no proof of that. The only time she tries to dress up like a boy is when she's around the boy that she secretly likes, Frasier. Does that mean you really want to be a boy? Does that really mean if
It
the only
might. It might be, because we never see Caitlyn like trying to act like a girl.
Apti, if the only time you listened to Tupac was when you were around me and I was playing Tupac, but then you're by yourself and you never play Tupac, do you actually really like Tupac? Do you actually really consider yourself a fan?
Caitlyn watches videos of testosterone injections online. What is
Because
that then?
because she knows she's going to see her crush the next day.
What? So her crush is gonna go through her YouTube history?
She's trying to be more and more like his ideal. Like I'm saying, this show shows, this girl trying to bend herself to be what a man likes. It's
I don't.
sexist. The
I
show's
don't
sexist.
agree. I
Yeah.
don't agree.
No, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. But I
Yeah.
really just like this episode. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Wow.
I give it a 4. Do you have anything else you want to say about this
Um,
episode?
I'll give it a 6. It
You'll
was
give it a
fun.
6.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this is our. We'll just have to agree to disagree, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to episode 7. You ready?
Yeah.
So, right here, right now, episode 7. Sarah arrives at the army headquarters. It is revealed that there was an IED explosion in Afghanistan where the troops were recently deployed. 3 men were killed in the blast, including Craig, At school, Caitlin tells Frazier that Sam has been trying to call her all morning. Soldiers enter the classroom and quietly inform the teacher of the explosion. The students are called down to the gymnasium where the principal announces the incident. Brittany arrives in tears and Caitlin checks her text, breaking down in tears. While preparing for the memorial, Jenny and Maggie argue over the recent events and Maggie ends their affair. At the memorial, an inebriated Richard lashes out at Sarah, blaming her for the deaths of Craig, Drew, and Alvaro. Danny becomes angry, reckless, and destructive in response to Craig's death. The group returns to the villa from Craig and Valentina's post-wedding celebration, gets high, then wreaks havoc. Caitlin comforts Danny after he hallucinates Craig's death during a bad trip. Frazier, who is exiled by the group due to his mother's orders blamed for the incident, walks to Jonathan's apartment. Marta is there and she invites him in. They comfort him, offer alcohol and weed. They dance and hug, but Frazier leaves as things turn disconcertingly sensual. He sobs in the rain on his way out, gets drunk at home, and passes out on the floor. As his mother checks on him, he begs details about his father. Frazier gets a call for help from Caitlin, and he, driven by Sarah and Maggie, pick her up and Danny from the villa and takes them home. That night, Frazier confronts Maggie about her affair with Jenny, and Maggie says that Richard and his family pose a risk, convincing Sarah to assign them to another base. Frazier and Caitlin fall asleep over a video call, and Danny prays in the garage. What did you think about that episode?
This episode was, I think, one of the good ones. It was definitely like the darkest episode. It was definitely the saddest episode because you kind of get a reality check when Craig is dead. You feel like, he's not the only person who died who's like just so young because of military and, whatever you call it, because of the system and whatnot. So I definitely felt that sadness. Like it was like, just a hopeless moment. The way that they break down, it was their friends. They were with him like, I don't know, a month ago or weeks ago, something like that. So it was just definitely, heartbreaking. That part was really heartbreaking. And you can also see like, because of their friend's death, they're trying to also bring back their group together because they all knew him. So they kind of lean onto each other like the first group. They try to like, I don't know, mourn together and make themselves feel better when they're together and things like that. And what else? I don't know. What did you think about Craig's death?
Craig's death was very sad. I kind of a little bit saw it coming
Yeah.
because Craig the entire time in the show was like the most likable character, the most understandable character, and so of course the show, being as great as it is going to kill the person that we actually enjoy. So I was like, yep, I saw that coming. And plus there was that scene when he got up out of bed after smashing his wife in the episode I really liked when they got married, and he got up in the sun all naked and black, and I was like, yep, that nigga gonna die. We can't have black glorious love. Every time a black man gets married in a TV show, they gotta die.
Wow.
This is just standard. It's like in a horror movie, Freddy Krueger gonna get your black ass, and if you get married, you're gonna die in scene two. That's just how it goes. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you think Sarah was the person to blame?
Uh, yes, 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 because they said that the people did not have training, and Sarah said, no, we do have training. She wanted to flex her big muscles and show that her base got the real hitters. So she was like, send them boys, send them child soldiers out, send them 18, 19-year-old boys off to Afghanistan to die. And she did it. So yeah, I do think Sarah was to blame. And also, when she goes into the command center, the situation room, and gets naked in front of everybody, I was like, yep, only a flat booty Karen would make a horrible decision like that. This is why we don't need
I mean,
Karens in
I
office.
understand that she was like, we're all human here and things like that. Like, you all seen titties and ass before, and probably mine is not the greatest that you'll ever see. So why are you uncomfortable? I get that, but I also feel like it's inappropriate in a time of mourning. You can just like, you don't have to get naked in the middle. You can just go to the corner and change your outfit. Like,
Right.
that's fine. Or go to the bathroom or whatever.
I feel like getting naked on an HBO special is like a part of the contract, and it's
Yeah.
also considered like a status symbol in Hollywood. Like I was a part of a limited series where I had a nude scene. You know what I mean? Like Chloe Sevigny is trying to get that Emmy or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, definitely. Like that was just unnecessary, and I don't know. I don't know if I can blame Sarah. I did blame her a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But the thing is, even if they completed their 90-day training, they would still be the same age. Like they would have still gone there after their training. Maybe that would have changed things. But it's not like her fault specifically to be sending out these young boys and soldiers.
Hmm.
And I think like her fault was just not finish letting them finish their training, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, after the scene with Richard, where Richard gets drunk and yells at her, and then he falls back, another soldier comes up to Sarah and says, "Did you really send them people, before their training finished?" And she said, "Yep." And he was like, "Oh, you're in big trouble," or something like that, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, she obviously stepped over her boundaries, and then she ended up losing her ability to, transfer people, I believe. And so that's why I was confused. Why when I read the synopsis, it says, Maggie tells Sarah about. Richard and says, "Oh, you got to get rid of Richard," which goes to show once again, I got to say this. I got to say this. This family is predatory and sick as F. Maggie, Sarah, Frazier, all sick, predatory groomers. Because number one, Maggie sleeps with Richard's wife. And then when Richard stands up for his family, right, implicitly by confronting Sarah, saying, "You're the one who caused all this trauma in this base. You're polluting my daughter with all these sick thoughts. You got one of our young boys killed and stuff like that." He's, attacking Sarah. And so then Maggie, behind Jenny's back, the same Jenny that she had no mind scissoring with, she says, "They gotta go." That's sick, evil, like white people stuff, in my opinion, right? That's just nasty. That was just evil, 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 evil. I really hated that scene. I was like, Maggie is so fake. Sarah is so fake. She, you say you like Caitlyn, Sarah, but you're willing to like send her across the world. You don't really love that girl. You just want to mess with some other man, like his child and stuff like that. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You
Yeah,
follow?
that I do agree. Like that definition, that decision that they made there, like let's
Mm-hmm.
get rid of them. That was definitely malicious because I guess like Maggie was also like I don't know. She got like sad or angry because Jenny said like oh Jenny kind of like said this was nothing, like this was a joke and things like that. So I'm guessing like Maggie was mad at Jenny and Sarah is always also mad at like Richard too because Richard doesn't like her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think overall they're once again they're a groomer family. I don't think that, but I do think like that decision and that scene was malicious, yes, because like they just wanted to send them because they didn't fit their way of thinking,
Right.
which is what Richard has been doing, right. Richard doesn't like Sarah because it doesn't fit his way of thinking because she's gay and she's a woman and stuff like that, but then they do the same thing to them.
Right, but the thing is, Richard follows orders and protocol. There's a scene, I believe it was in episode 5 or 6, I forgot exactly, but Richard gets called into the office by Sarah and says, "You got to apologize to the
Mhm.
Italians because of the fight that happened and stuff like that." And even though, he's like, "Damn, this woman is stunning me right now," he does it. He stands
Yeah,
up and follows orders. Meanwhile, Sarah, they use these people, sexually for morality, for some purpose, whatever, try to corrupt their family, and then basically, do away with them, dispose of them, right? Like
yeah.
for me as a black person watching that, it was kind of triggering, at least because we always believe like, all right, on the outside, right, black people in the LGBTQ community have sort of an alliance, right, because we're oppressed
Hmm.
minorities to some degree. But when we're dealing with LGBTQ people, there's still white people among them, right? And
Yeah,
white people still sometimes will do things for their own self benefit and interest, despite whatever other trauma they might be facing, right? And I
yeah,
feel like for Richard to stand up and confront Sarah, about her misdeeds at the party, and she was like, "Okay, time to flex some good old white supremacy over this boy. Who you talking to, boy? I can send you out of here, boy. I can get you kicked out of the army, boy." All this sort of stuff. That's what it felt like. And then
yeah,
Maggie, sleeping with this man's wife. Now Jenny has to always have it in her mind that she betrayed her husband. You get what I'm saying? And I don't know. It was just very, very triggering for me to see that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying all white people are like that, but this show sort of like played into that fear, that belief that behind closed doors, the lesbians, the gays, all these sorts of people really don't care about black people. They just want them on their side for when it's convenient, use them for when it's convenient, and dispose of them when they become too radical or unnecessary. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, I understand. It does definitely seem like that here. So I do agree. Like they just wanted to get rid of Richard's family because they didn't have anything to gain from them again. And we like that also is backed up when Maggie tells the truth about her cheating on Sarah, and Sarah's like, okay, like so we'll get rid of them. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. What did you think about Frasier and his, crying over his father, not knowing his father really, and like the identity of his father really being a mystery? What did you think about that in this episode and in the show in its entirety?
Yeah, I do think like he's trying to, since he's like in the coming of age, and he's trying to like discover himself as well. Even though he seems so cocky and confident and whatnot, he's still trying to like discover himself. So I do understand like him being curious about his father. Like I knew my father, but I didn't see him for like 12 years, right? So I used to do the same thing. I used to go to my mom and ask him or her to like tell me some memories and things like that, and she would tell me, and that would comfort me in a sense. So yeah, I don't understand why like his mother is constantly denying him of this information because it will only make him understand himself more and love his mother more at the same time. So it really doesn't make any sense to me, and I kind of hated Sarah in this episode a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of rooting for her, but in this episode she was just very selfish, both
Mm-hmm.
to Richard and his family and also like to her own son as well.
Right. For me, a little bit, it's hard for me to like hear a story where a character doesn't know their father and me not make Jesus comparisons because I'm always looking for like symbolism, but I don't want to compare Frasier to Jesus because to me, he's the son of Satan. So maybe that's why they didn't reveal his father because his mother was going to say, "So I made a deal with the devil to make me the most powerful lesbian in the army." And and the trade off was I had to give birth to his rotten seed. I thought that's where I thought so. I don't know. I really can't read more into Frasier not knowing his father, but like you said, maybe the show is about coming to know yourself, coming of age, and Frasier not knowing that part of him really makes it hard. But they kind of explain it, right? Because didn't like Sarah and Maggie, pick Danny up and like, tell him like I met him one time or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Do you remember?
No, but yeah, they just give like one or two sentences of explanation. I don't remember what they say exactly, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, but um yeah, what also another character I kind of hated this episode is Jonathan, because in the previous episode when you said it feels like pedophilish,
Pedophilic.
pedophilic, I felt that in this episode because it was just like uncomfortable for Frasier when he got into that like apartment and he was like everyone was half naked and they were groping him and things like that. So it was definitely uncomfortable, and I do get that because I've been in that situation where I was hanging out with older people and it seemed so cool in the beginning, but then they start doing like adult weird stuff that adults do, and then you feel like you're in danger or you feel like you're not ready for something like this and you just want to like walk out and run out of there. So yeah, I did kind of felt for Frasier in there.
I felt like, and we really should spend some more time on episode 7, like really break this down, because after this it's episode 8, and sort of all these other characters disappear, and so there's this is like the most that we can wrap up from the majority of the characters. So we really need to break that down. So thank you for bringing up Jonathan, because I feel like when Frasier walked into Jonathan's apartment and saw that it was sort of like messy, dingy, pseudo clean, like the type of clean a bachelor has when a girl comes over and everything just gets pushed under the couch, that sort of clean, like that's how Jonathan's apartment looked. And so Frasier comes in, and that's when it finally clicked in my mind. Oh, Jonathan is straight. Like he's not gender fluid. He's not bi. Like he's a straight man. He just can get down in any type of way, I guess. You know what I mean? And he's generally cool. Plus, he's Middle Eastern, and I think this is something that is not brought up. Jonathan is Israeli, and so the Middle Eastern people are just a bit like, I don't know, more touchy feely than us Americans. More like, double kiss on the cheek. Hold you on the back of your neck, slowly caress your cheek with the back of the hand. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah, but not when it comes to like sexuality, and not definitely not when it comes to a man, touching another man.
I disagree, because in my opinion, there's more sort of like homoerotic behavior in Arab society and Middle Eastern society in general than there is in Western society. Like at least for me, when I grew up, we don't kiss each other on the cheek. We don't call each other Habibi. We don't, rub the back of somebody else's head or kiss or hold their neck and stuff like that. Like when I first became Muslim and I was going to the mosque and I was meeting these other people who came from Morocco, who came from Syria, Turkey, Jordan, whatever, and they would say my brother, and they would hold my hand very gently and like kiss me on the cheek 2 times and stuff like that, give me very soft hugs. I was like, whoa, I didn't know there were so many gay Muslims. You feel me? I'm being serious.
Yeah, no, I understand, because yeah, at the same time, like if it's done, I feel like if it's done between like two certain men in a certain way, it will spark up some like disapproval. But in general, it is the way that we show like respect or love.
Hmm.
So I think like yeah, like in a mosque, it's normal to see that because you're hugging your Muslim brother and
Right.
things like that. Or when an older person does that to a younger person, you understand that it's like they're like their brother or their father and whatever. So yeah, I do understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. In your opinion, do you? Of course, Turkey is not like a. Of course, Turkey is kind of homophobic, right? Just like America is
Yeah.
homophobic, but Turkey a bit more, right? But do you feel like when you see guys hanging out and stuff like that, and they're like hugging each other and stuff like that, and I'm talking about like in the streets or like guy friends that
Hmm.
don't you? In my opinion, I feel like it's kind of homoerotic. No.
No, because it's cultural. Like that's normal in my culture, so I wouldn't feel that when two guys hug each other. But if they're walking around holding hands, then that's when you're gonna get the looks.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. All right. But yeah, Jonathan moving on Frasier like that with his girlfriend and stuff like that. I just think they wanted to dance.
Yeah, they just wanted like a freaky night, and they didn't maybe like I don't know. He wasn't in the right mood, obviously, because Craig was dead and things like that. So
Yeah.
it was just like too much for him.
They felt really comfortable doing that to Frasier because I believe the age of consent in Italy is 14.
Also, I think like they saw Frasier as someone who's just like a crazy person. Like he
Yeah.
would do anything to just be weird or piss off his mother and things like that. So they didn't really count in that he was actually a kid.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk about Danny getting down with, I believe, Sam's brother, Craig. Yeah, Craig's ex-wife, right? Or
Mhm.
widow. Craig's widow. So Craig dies, but his a little Italian girl is still there. She comes and picks up Danny from the base, and they go out to the beach and they make out. But then after that, there's not really that much connection with them for the rest of the show. What did you think about that?
I just felt like it was maybe, I don't know. I feel like it was a coping mechanism for both of them. I don't know about Danny, but I don't think like Valentina wants to, have a relationship with Danny because she's a freshly widow who's like 17 years old or something,
Mm.
and she says it, and it's so funny to hear it in a sad way. Like it's funny in a sad way. She says like, "I'm a widow and I'm only like 17 years old. I don't know what to do in life right now."
Yeah.
When you're in that age, you're already struggling with your identity, and then on top of it, you marry someone and they're dead in the next month.
Mm.
So I think it was like a coping mechanism, and I think Danny was also trying to like comfort her, and she
Yeah.
was trying to comfort Danny also because Danny was Craig's best friend.
Mm. I feel
And
like
also like going back to what you said earlier, like maybe there was a pact between Craig and Danny as well.
Yeah, yeah. I hit it and you hit it. You my brother. We get it.
That's gross.
Eskimo brothers for life. Yeah. You paint a face, I paint a butt. Let's go.
Ew, okay, stop. Stop. That's gross. I'm glad that that didn't go further than a kiss.
Mm. I thought it was very interesting. I felt like there was going to be more to that, but I feel like in the show the subtext is that many Italians really want that green card, so they're willing to even like marry or date like little girls who dress up like boys, like whatever, to get to Minnesota. I don't know, that's what it
Wow.
felt like. It felt like every Italian in the show, as soon as they saw an American or smelt the American on you, they were like, hey, let me buy you a drink.
I don't understand why Italians would want green cards so bad. They're Europeans. They can go like anywhere also.
Yeah, yeah, but I think northern Italy, like Genoa, Venice, Florence, that's like German Italy. But the rest of the country is like, how can I say this? Tunisia. They say Africa begins in Rome. You get what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, no, I understand the conditions, but it's like they can easily go to Sweden or Holland or whatever, wherever. So that's why.
I think it's a part of the American dream, American, how we
Yeah,
put out the propaganda about our country all across the world. So Italians aren't immune to that either. They're willing to buy into it. But yeah, the
yeah,
majority of Italians do end up going to Germany or France or the UK if they really want a better economic life, right? But some of them do want to go to America because we do have a strong Italian community in certain cities and places.
hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, I thought the Danny Valentina thing was interesting. We should have went more. Danny's conversion, final praying on the mat. What did you think about that scene? Because that's sort of how the show ends with a panoramic view of the base and it's shaped like a penis. What did you think of that?
I I thought it was kind of funny, but because I think he prays at the same place in the garage, right?
Hmm.
That Richard and his wife have sex.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And it's not like a passionate sex, but
Mhm.
Richard just is, I guess, Richard is like appreciative of his wife because she took care of him when he was like, just drunk and aggressive and whatever, and he was lashing out. So I think that was like kind of his way of saying I still love you a little bit, but the lady was not feeling it. She wasn't about to come or anything like that. It was kind of weird for her, but she just like went along with it. And then, at the same place, Danny kind of converts. And I think I know, like you're saying that Caitlyn is being indoctrinated and stuff like that, but I don't think what Danny is going through is so different from what Caitlyn is going through because Danny grew up in a Christian household, and it's not it's not perceived well when he's a Muslim or he wants to be a Muslim. So I
Mhm.
think he's also dealing with that, but he doesn't have anyone to look up to or anyone that he can talk to about it. So he just ends up like watching a bunch of people on YouTube
Mhm.
basically, and that's where he gets his information. And
Right.
I think that's also like him trying to find what suits him.
Mhm.
And when after Craig dies, he kind of sets his mind that okay, like I'm going to be a devoted Muslim and I'm going to find my peace in that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Danny's story is very beautiful and touching in a way because he is trying to do something wholesome with his life, I feel like. And once again, I'm not going to bash on trans people. I'm not bashing Caitlyn for dressing up like a boy. I just feel like it was unauthentic. But Danny's conversion or reversion, however you want to word it, to Islam, I feel like is wholesome. It's coming from a place of wanting to get in touch with his roots, find his true identity, and do something positive in the world. You know what I mean? So I really liked that. It was very funny when he was praying because he spent all that time studying Arabic and can barely say Al Fatiha. It was like a bunch of mumbled words, but it was cute and touching, and may Allah reward him for that. But yeah, when I became Muslim, like a lot of the ways I learned about the deen was on YouTube, was by watching random videos and also reading books. And I used to pray holding the book in my hand and reading the words out and, then closing the book, going down for sujud. So, however you do it, you'll get blessings and benefits from it. But I feel like they could have at least made him say Al Fatiha, decently. You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I feel like anything that you say about Danny's transformation can be said about Caitlyn, honestly,
No,
because she is also trying to find herself.
no,
And why?
no. Once again, she's not trying to find herself. She's trying to impress a boy. And the rest of the world
No,
is trying to
you
impress
don't
their
know
worldview
that.
on her.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Oh, God, I
So
gave all
how
that
come like
evidence.
her trying to discover herself is different from Danny trying to discover himself?
Okay, let's talk about something more substantive. Kid Cudi's seven stroke game. What'd you think of that?
Wow, it
Do you think
was
it's shaped like a
just
pencil?
it's sad. It was sad. That was
you,
just uncomfortable.
you think it got a little curve on it? I feel like it curve up.
But why are we talking about his dick? Stop.
if
Gross.
I if I ever did a sex scene, I at least got to roll my hips a little bit. You know what I mean? Get that little stroke
Yeah,
on.
that
Gotta,
was just like straight legs, just like all up in you, and it's not. It was not. It didn't look good.
it looked deep. I don't know. I think Jenny liked it. I think she liked it.
No. Okay. Oh God.
I think she liked that plow more than that. That gentle kissing and caressing that Maggie was doing. She want that. She want
I
that meat.
I don't agree.
I agree. I agree with myself.
I know you find the most authentic things that relate to you because Danny is a Muslim.
Uh-huh. No, 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 no. I'm not just relating to Danny just because he's a Muslim. I just feel like that was a very interesting story plot line. And it felt more authentic because nobody was forcing him to do it. Nobody was telling him to do it. He was challenging the whole world and still wanted to do it. Meanwhile, Caitlyn doesn't really want to do it, but the whole world is sort of like influencing her to do it.
Nobody says that Caitlyn doesn't want to do it. I don't know where you picked that up from the story, but you can say the same thing about Danny. I can say that maybe he got trapped into some weird website that was like about Muslim missionaries or something like that. So I can say the same thing about Danny. The fact is that you don't know, and Danny doesn't show any, any bad feelings about Islam. The same way Caitlyn doesn't show any bad feelings about being a boy.
The number one thing is that Danny didn't reject Islam at the end. He embraces it. But Caitlyn rejects being a boy at the end, as
We
we will
don't
talk about in
know.
episode
We
8.
don't know. I think she still wants to be a boy.
No, she doesn't. Oh, no, she doesn't. Because she wiped that thing off her face. She wiped it off her face. She wiped the little fake mustache with the pubes off her face. Yeah, I think we could argue about this all day. But once again,
Yeah.
we will agree to disagree. What do you rate episode 7? Yeah, what do you rate it?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Mm. I give it a 6 overall, but it's just heartbreaking that this is the last time that we sort of get any sort of resolution with these characters because it still feels like there's more to be said. What really happens to Jenny and Richard? Do they reconcile? Are they headed for divorce? Sarah and Maggie, like, Sarah said no more sleeping around, but, obviously there's some friction in their relationship, right? And Danny and his conversion, how is he gonna, tell that to his father, who doesn't know that he wants to be a Muslim, right? There's so many things I feel like that are left undone. What happens to
Yeah.
Valentina, right? You know, Jonathan, there's so many things I feel like go left, untied. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
give episode 7 like a 6.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm like really curious about all the other characters, but yeah.
All right, let's go to the final episode 8, right here, right now, and last. That's the title, right here, right now, 8, last. Okay. All right. Caitlin and her family pack to move to Chicago as Richard has been reassigned. Brittany visits Caitlin and finally admits he has always been in love with her, and the two share a kiss.
This was so unnecessary.
Very, 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 very. Fraser texts Caitlin that the Blood Orange concert is imminent, and the two run away to Bologna to see the show. They eventually hitch a ride with other fans, and Fraser meets a boy named Luca who also loves fashion and says he has a girlfriend. Caitlin gets separated from the boys as they enter the venue and meets Futura, a female bartender who flirts and gives her a backstage pass. Caitlin meets Blood Orange and texts their selfie picture to Fraser. Caitlin kisses Futura, who asks her if she is transgender. As Blood Orange does an encore, Caitlin texts Fraser she is leaving to catch the train home. Fraser asks her to wait, but she leaves. Luca takes Fraser on a tour of the arches in Bologna, and they share a kiss. Fraser has an epiphany and leaves Luca, who fades into thin air. Fraser rushes to the train station and pulls Caitlin from the train home. He takes her to the arches, and they break their earlier pact by finally sharing a long, romantic, deep, sexual, sensual kiss as morning dawns into sunrise. What did you think of the final episode of We Are Who We Are?
This episode is the reason why I didn't exactly love the series. Because I feel like in this episode everybody's kissing because they're leaving and things like that, and I'm like, okay, you don't need to kiss everyone to just tell them that you love them. And it's just like the way that Brittany kisses Caitlyn, I just feel like it was unnecessary. Like, okay, Brittany, like you could have said that before, and you could have just said that and not like force her to kiss you with your cigarette mouth.
Wow.
And sorry, I just found that like when I watched that, it was just like unnecessary and kind of like, I don't know. I just didn't feel anything there. And also same with Frasier, he's always like chasing the D, and he finds this boy and stuff like that, and he has a girlfriend, and he always seems to go for the straight guys. And I'm like, oh, like I can't have Frasier just like chasing around another person who has a girlfriend, and he just hopes that he's gay. So I was just like frustrated during this whole episode, and I'm just like, I was sick of Frasier, I was sick of Brittany and Caitlyn also, and yeah, it was. We see kind of like in the beginning, Frasier is kind of a shitty friend, right? He leaves Caitlyn, and Caitlyn is just like by herself trying to figure out what the hell is going on, looking like a boy. And yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about the beginning. What did you think about like just the beginning, the whole thing?
Right. I thought it was kind of sad and bittersweet that they were moving because I was hoping that maybe, Sarah and Richard were going to like have a sit down at the beginning of the episode and work out really all of their issues. I really wanted some resolution. Maybe it's me wanting that happy American ending, or at least an ending where I feel like, there's some like that climax. Like I feel like Richard and Sarah's beef is one of the biggest in the shows. And with Richard and Jenny and the family just having to move to Chicago, it was heartbreaking for me a little bit because I was like, damn, this black man stood up for himself and his family and sort of like let his arch nemesis have it, and then damn, he gets punished for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was disappointing. Richard is like yelling at the house, like, "Where's my goddamn hat?" And Danny's like, "I don't know where your hat is." Or,
Give the
I don't
man
know.
his Trump hat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like the last episode, I was like, "Oh no, really, really." But yeah, Brittany comes over and like you said, she's like smoking all in the room, gets in the bed with a cigarette, just disrespectful, with the shoes on. Ugh, gross. And like kisses Caitlyn. And once again, I think this is more proof Caitlyn is not gay because Brittany does it and she's not feeling it. You know what I mean?
Once again, she doesn't have to be gay.
Okay. But Brittany saying, like, I've always loved you. I was like, this girl is such a clout chaser. just always hopping from person to person because nobody loves little round Brittany. And
I know. She was like, "Oh no, like my boyfriend's brother died, so he won't have sex with me. So I guess I'll just like go and kiss Caitlyn."
yeah, yeah,
That's how it felt like.
yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that, but that's how it looked like, and it was just like unnecessary.
Right. You know, that scene and many other scenes relate to this scene earlier, right? There was a scene where Caitlin and her father were in the truck and they were talking about music. And Richard is like listening to country music and he's talking about the history of the song and the artists and stuff like that. And then he asked Caitlin, like, what do you listen to? And she's like, I don't know, whatever feels good. Whatever I like, and what I don't like, I don't. And that's sort of like, I feel like, is like the whole theme and vibe of the show. Like the show just feels like characters doing what feels good at the moment. And also at the same time, the writers and the director saying, yeah, that seems right at this moment. Let's just do that. Let's just go with the vibes. Vibes, man, vibes. And you know, the Britney scene just felt like maybe it was a vibe that the writers had. Like, let's just throw this out there, and then that's it. You know, there's nothing more to it. It was kind of annoying, very annoying to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And yeah, when Frasier like when Frasier and Caitlin are on the train and they're like listening to Blood Orange and they're like having that bonding moment, like with their heads together, with sharing two headphones. I thought that was very cute. You know, it was showing like they had that bond, but it was that moment I felt like, she's like fully bought into this boy's weird world. Like she should be at home packing with her family. Like they're gonna be worried sick about her. Meanwhile, she's running off with this crazy boy to a whole nother city with like €5 in her pocket. And it was annoying. I wanted to yell at the screen the entire time. You
I
know.
mean, I liked their friendship. I liked it because also like later in this episode, Frasier tells Caitlin that his boyfriend was made up. The boyfriend
Mm,
that he left in New York is made up, and he's like, he doesn't exist. And then Caitlin was like, okay, so like I don't exist, you don't exist, Craig doesn't exist anymore.
mm-hmm,
And they just had like that. They just have like a mutual understanding of, I don't know what they're going through, and they don't judge each other. And once again, I think that's why they were so close, because other than that, they really don't have anything in common.
mm.
So I think I like their friendship, and like going off to a city where your parents don't know where you are and things like that. Those are always like fun memories when you look back, when you're a kid and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see why it's fun, it's rebellious, it's adventurous, but I don't like their friendship because I feel like, Caitlin is chasing around this crazy boy who doesn't know who he is, doesn't know what he wants to be, and he's making up friends. Let's think about that. He created a friend in his mind. And what he did with Caitlin is he created a friend in person. Like he made Caitlin like the music he likes. He made Caitlin think that maybe she should change her gender. He made Caitlin, get off of the train at the last thing and get on the train in the first place. I feel like there's like subtle coercion. Like Frasier is the master manipulator. He plays dumb, but he's really hella smart, like Emperor Palpatine smart.
I mean, he doesn't play dumb, and yes, there is some domination over Caitlyn. But at the same time, yeah, like that's also the dynamics of like most relationships, not in the toxic way that they have, maybe,
Mhm.
but you do always have like that one person who takes you to weird places and makes you do weird things and stuff like that, and you do have fun with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. What did you think about Blood Orange's music? I used to listen to him a few years ago. Like he popped up on my Apple Music playlist, and I downloaded a few of his songs. He's cool, in my opinion. I kind of got the feeling like this was art house, like hipster music. But I
Yeah.
did I dug a couple of his songs. I didn't get deep into like who he is as a person. In fact, I didn't even know he was a black man until I kind of saw the show. But I did listen to his music. What do you think of what you heard?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't listen to Blood Orange before, but in the series, it sounded nice. It sounded good. I'm not like the biggest indie. I guess it's like indie. I don't know. But I'm not the biggest fan of indie, but I do listen to like certain people or certain songs and stuff like that. So it
Mm,
was cool. Like I think it was a good choice. Like it fits the whole mood of the series.
yeah,
It would
yeah.
have been weird if they went to a Travis Scott concert.
That would have been very weird. But yeah, Blood Orange is like millennial Gen Z. Like we can share that. Gen Zs and millennials, we can share Blood Orange. He's like right in that middle part. You
Yeah,
get what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yeah, very annoying how Frasier was chasing this little boy Luca and totally forgot about his friend Caitlin when they made it to the show and like was starting to ignore her even like when they were in the car on the way to the show. So annoying, and it triggered me the same way that Maggie and Sarah, how they were kicking out Richard and Caitlin and Jenny from the base and stuff like that. Because I felt like Frasier was practicing the same sort of stuff to what's her name, yeah, to Caitlin. And I was like, oh, you just forget about your gay little black best friend as soon as you meet somebody else who interests you. Very very triggering.
Yeah, that was yeah. I didn't like that when Frasier did that, definitely, because it was like as soon as he found someone who had like his same hobbies, like fashion and things like that, he kind of just like left Caitlyn alone.
Now, what did you think of Luca and Frasier's kiss?
Oh, it did seem, at least I don't know, maybe it did seem like experimental, but once again, I was just like mad at this point. Like, why is everyone like kissing? Why is Frasier constantly chasing straight dudes, and like he ends up kissing them or having romantic stuff with them? And I was just like, oh god, like Frasier, can you just like chill for a second and not look for a lover? Like I was just like sick of Frasier just trying to have this Hollywood movie romance
Mm.
in
He
his
wanted
mind,
that "Call Me
maybe.
by Your Name."
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was just like, I don't know. It was cute and all, like how they were like going around the town, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about Caitlyn.
Right. Yeah, me
So
too.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought, when Luca and Frasier kiss, after they kiss, Frasier says, no, Luca asks, "Did you like it?" I think, and Frasier says, "No, not really." Right, and then Frasier asked him, "Have you ever kissed a boy?" And he said, "No." And then he asked him, "Do you like it?" And he said, "No." Something like that. That's sort of like how the conversation went. And then they continue running around the city together. And I like the scene when Luca just sort of disappears. Right, like Luca is like, "Hey, come with me up to the top. It's the most beautiful thing in the world." And Frasier like runs away from him, and then blink, he's gone. And I thought that was cool. I'll actually give the directors, producers props for that because that
Mm.
was interesting for me.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, something happens. I guess it's because of their kiss. Then I don't know, like maybe because Luca says, "I'm gonna take you to the best. I'm gonna show you the best scene of Italy" or something like that. And then maybe Fraser realizes that the person that he wants to be there with is Caitlyn and not
Mhm.
Luca.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I thought it was interesting how Luca disappeared because it's sort of like we have those moments with people, but then they're gone, right? Like a one night stand or something like that.
Yeah.
Poof,
I
they
mean,
were.
for a second, because Fraser admitted that the guy in New York was made up. For a
Mhm.
second, I did think, wait, is Luca made up too?
Mm,
Like,
mm,
is this like, is Frasier just like, creating these things in his mind because he's longing for, New York or something like that?
mhm.
So I thought about that for a second, but then I said like they got into car together with Caitlyn, so I
Right,
guess
right.
that's not true.
Right, right, right. And so let's just go to the last final scene. Frasier like runs across Bologna in like 20 minutes flat. Caitlin is on the train. We don't hear the conversation that they have, but he gets on there and he like says something to her and then pulls her off the train. And then they run back across Bologna in 10 minutes flat and go to the same spot where Frasier and Luca were. And they look out on the scene. And the scene is not the most beautiful scene in the world. It's just a bunch of like brick house buildings, like tops. It's like roofs and ceilings. And then they have a kiss. And I was like, oh God, I did not see the kiss coming. I'll be honest, I did not see the kiss between Fraser and Caitlin coming. And when it did happen, I was like, oh no, no, don't tell me that this is supposed to be a rom drum. Don't tell me that all this time this was leading up to this. I
I
did not
know.
want this. Nobody asked for this. Don't give me this. Send it back.
I know. I mean, oh God, I felt the same way because it was like, so you build up to this the whole time saying that this girl is struggling with her identity. And you want to say that she might be gay or she might want to be trans. And then you have Frasier, who's a weird little kid. And we're thinking he's gay and all of that. And then they end up kissing. And I'm like, oh, please don't. Like, why do we have to make this a straight rom com ending
Mm,
when they went through all of this stuff? And once again, I'm saying like Caitlyn might want to be a boy, but might be attracted to boys also. So
mm,
that's a possibility. But it's like it was just like too much of a classic ending to a story who didn't have any classic relationships.
mm, mm,
And that was so underwhelming to me. I would be happier if Frasier, went on with Luca and something nice happened between them, and then Caitlyn, I don't know, made out with Futura or something, like the girl in the bar,
yeah,
or like bonded with her. And I don't know. I feel like maybe that would have been more satisfactory. And then they meet up at the end and tell each other or something like that.
yeah.
And
And
I was like, it was just like, okay, so this is telling boys and girls can never be friends. It was so annoying.
I feel like making Luca. Okay, hold on, wait. Violator wants to jump in. Let Violator go ahead and talk. Violator, what did you? I don't know if you saw the show, Violator. You can speak if you want to, but tell us what you thought about the ending of the show. If you want to jump in, anytime. But I'll just say this: I feel like Luca and Caitlyn. No, no, no. Luca should not have been like the end goal of Frasier because like he just appeared. Like this kid appeared in the last 15 minutes, and then he's gonna be Frasier's number one boo. No, like get that out of
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Anyway, Violator, what do you think? I don't know if you saw the show. Shout out to you.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Jump in. Tell us what you thought about the show. If I don't know if you saw it.
Well, I actually really liked the ending because I have seen the series twice, and the first time I saw it, I had picked up. It was kind of obvious for me that Frasier was really into the girl.
Mm,
Yeah. Like so, I was kind of surprised hearing you guys like in the first review, the first part review, that like already in the first episode, he kind of stalks her. He's very curious about her. He takes a picture of her, and at night he stares at the picture, and like in the episode with the party, I think it's episode
Mhm.
4.
Yeah.
yeah.
Remember there's like a girl. She only appears in that episode, and she kisses him. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
then he goes and he tells her name is Caitlin, right?
Yeah.
He tells her, oh, yeah. So I just kissed that girl, like he just cheated or something, And then
Mm-hmm.
she gets like visibly mad, and she says, okay, no, don't ever do that again. And we're never gonna kiss.
Mm,
Yeah, and
mm.
there's some scenes, and I felt like Caitlin trying to play with her gender identity was like a way for her to get closer to Frasier.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that, that's really what I felt. And there was something about those two. I don't know what it is, but for me, it was like almost love at first sight. Like
Mm,
the moment he was staring a picture at her, when she was reciting a poem, and she
mm-hmm.
yeah, and they both look at each other. For me, that was like the story of these two people. Yeah.
Mm. All right, that's very interesting. My thing about Frasier Violator is that he's just so damn unlikable. Like with him attacking his mom, calling her a bitch, wanting to kill her. That's my problem with Frasier. Maybe that's why I wasn't like feeling the show because it's hard for me to relate to Frasier. What did you think about Frasier like doing all that crazy stuff to his family?
Yeah, I thought. Yeah. I thought he was really annoying but he's a kid. He's like, I don't know, like a kid, and I thought like, okay, he's like going through puberty. He has all these like I don't know, trauma maybe because of his father. He doesn't mean anything.
Mm.
He feels very like an outsider, very alone, and I think that's what attracted him to Caitlyn. That Caitlyn is also an outsider,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
he's still very unlikable. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Actor, you have a question?
No, no. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we didn't see them like just being that way. And I guess the reason for me was also the same because Frasier was so weird all the time, so I didn't see his
Yeah,
actions as a love, as
yeah,
a
he's very pretentious. He's very narcissistic. Yeah,
yeah,
But you
but he
said
has
when
good
you
traits. He's smart. He has good traits too.
no,
yeah.
there are good things about him. I just, like you said, I feel like like Frasier was like trying to push Caitlyn to be, more like him, like more different and like explore new things. And like the trans thing, I feel like, Caitlyn wasn't really going down that path, but like Frasier put her on that path and like was kept on pushing her in that way. And you said like you
Yeah,
saw the show and you were like, oh, I know they're gonna be together. I did not see it coming at all. How did you really felt like from the first episode, okay, they're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend at the end? Be for real, for real? You thought
yeah,
that?
yeah. Because it's like it's a coming of age story, right?
Hmm.
And there's a new kid who comes into this strange new place, and he meets a girl, and they start get together. That's like an obvious beginning of like something love or something, of a story of self discovery
Mm,
of those two together.
mm. Okay, Acty, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, also maybe one of the reasons that they fell for each other might be because they were both lost in the same
Yeah,
sense, and that, like you said, they were trying to discover themselves, but with each other. So maybe that was
yeah,
also the
yeah.
reason why they ended up like just falling for each other.
Mm,
But I definitely did not see that.
okay, Violator, you said you watched the show twice. Like,
Yeah,
what was the
yeah.
reason for watching it twice? And when you watched it twice, did you see things the second time you didn't see the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I saw it when it came out, and the second time, I showed it to my friend, because the geography of the place they live in is similar to the place we live in here in Portugal.
Mm,
So we like the director Luca Guadagnino. So yeah,
mm-hmm,
and the second time, yeah, I definitely picked up more stuff, like more hints between Kathleen and Frasier,
mm,
like some problems, some weird stuff going on with Frasier's mom, some weird stuff like with that Jewish guy,
mm-hmm.
some
Yeah,
very
Jonathan.
weird
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
going on. Yeah, some weird stuff, very weird stuff going on with him. Because because we do see a scene of Frasier's mom, I forgot her name, like grooming basically Catelyn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I said, man. Grooming, man. I feel like she was saying, like, what? Yeah, you should be trans. Does your father know you want to be trans? That's what I was feeling, man. Honestly.
yeah, I felt the same way too.
Mm,
Um, yeah, definitely some stuff with that, and Kathleen's father, yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
definitely the second time he became a little more sympathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you, what did you think of the acting in the show? Like, did you think like everybody was acting, as like the acting was good? Because I feel like Kid
I
Cudi
thought,
acting was pretty bad.
I, I thought, okay, Kathleen was okay, Frasier was good,
Hmm.
Frasier's mom was good,
Hmm.
both of his moms were good.
Hmm.
Kid Cudi was okay. Um, Kathleen's mom was good, I think.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. That's about it. So you were happy with the ending, man. I don't know. I still didn't want them to be together, honestly, because the way Frasier acts in that last episode, he like ditches his girlfriend or his friend, right, and then hangs out with another
Yeah,
person. Like to me, that would be almost
that's
unforgivable. So, mm,
that's why I thought it was like a very beautiful moment, because he lets go of this like narcissism, and this focus of himself, and
hmm,
it becomes like a moment of acceptance,
hmm,
because supposedly he's this gay kid and whatever, he doesn't care about Italy at all. He thinks it's a very lame place,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
So in the end, he kind of accepts himself and he accepts Italy.
mm, mm.
He doesn't look down on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
thought. Go
it's
ahead. Go
sad at
ahead.
the same time because Caitlyn is gonna be moving now, and it's also like their last night. I feel like.
Yeah, if you think of it that way, it's kind of tragic. Yeah, but I think that's for me. In my head, they created a lifelong bond.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in the future they get married and then they start laughing about, hey, Caitlin, remember that time you tried to be a boy? you know. But
Yeah,
I didn't get the feeling that Frasier didn't like Italy. I just felt like he maybe didn't like the base, and he was like the weird new kid. But he was like learning Italian food and like talking about going and exploring the cities and stuff like that. I got the feeling Frasier liked Italy.
well, yeah, maybe you're right. I don't remember about him wanting to. explore the cities or something. But yeah, maybe you're right. But from what I felt, it was he was above it all. You know,
I mean,
it was very self-focused.
yeah, they do like kind of say in the beginning that Frasier wants to go back to New York. So maybe he just like really doesn't like anywhere except New York because that's where all his life is. So
Yeah, it's
not
okay.
necessarily like he hated Italy or anything, but he just like didn't really care to be there. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of wrapping this episode up, but we want to say thank you, Violator, for jumping in, giving that different perspective because we were bashing this show for like a good 2 hours. But now we're doing like the final reviews. So I'm gonna give my final score for this entire show. I feel like, if they focused more on just the family of Jenny, Richard, Caitlin, Danny, it would have been a more compact show, interesting show. But they tried too many things, and I really didn't want it to end with Caitlin and Frasier kissing. Like I wanted more resolution for all the characters that have these interesting stories, like Jenny, like Richard, like Danny. You get what I'm saying? So overall, I got to give this show maybe a 6. Honestly, 6 out of 10. But
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with you. Like, there could have been things that they explored more. Like we said, like, for example, the tension between Frasier and his mother could have been a political one. It could have made it more interesting, maybe. I don't know. And I definitely want to see more of Denny and things like that. And we kind of left all these side characters in the 7th episode. And I don't know. The last episode, I was kind of like let down because it turned into just like a straight love story after all that build up. So that's why I got a little mad. But I'll give this a 7 overall.
all right, Violator, tell us what you think. What's your overall score for the show?
It was really my thing. Luca, among like some other directors, like Gaspar Noé, for example. Their stuff, their media stuff is like it's intended to be more like a feeling.
Mm.
They are very focused on particularly Luca on texture and emotion and feeling like you're there.
Mhm.
And I tell you, did a very good job with that. So I would give it an 8.
An 8. Okay, all right. Maybe we missed the mark. I don't know. Maybe we're not seeing it. But you're saying the guy Luca is a really good director. Do you
That's
have?
my opinion.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Do you have any other things you suggest that we watch from him?
Well, you guys already seen Call Me by Your Name, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I would recommend Suspiria. It's a horror movie he made,
Mm.
but at the same time, I'm kind of apprehensive about recommending it because it's very slow.
We
And
we also saw Suspiria as well. I didn't know he directed this, but I don't know if Simon
oh,
remembers it.
Is Suspiria the one with the dance studio where
Yeah.
everybody's like goes to hell?
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's the movie. Did you guys like that movie?
A bit. I didn't understand it. I was like, what is happening here? I was very confused.
It was definitely like a very weird movie. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
It was okay.
he did his newest movie, Bones and All. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's his newest movie, Bones and All. It's like it's very similar to the Call Me by Your Name, but with cannibals.
With who?
It's very similar to Call Me by Your Name, or rather, We Are Who We Are.
Uh-huh.
Similar to this stuff, but with cannibals.
Oh, with cannibals. Okay. We are who we are. Hungry. We're people
Yeah.
eaters. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Shout out to Violator. Thank you, Acti, for contributing
Very much.
again. Thank you, everybody. Send suggestions. We're going to watch that movie, Aguirre. I think it's what it's called. Definitely is on the
Yeah.
list.
Here.
Yeah. So tune into the next episode of Simon and Acti Movie Reviews, and peace.
Peace. Thank you.